free. You have the right to remain silent. Scott's got the NYPD Blues. We are now leaving LA and taking you 3,000 miles across the country to New York City. The city that never sleeps. The city where a gazillion people walk the streets each day. The city where our friend Scott decided to join Yahoo Personals to find his very own Statue of Liberty. A woman who was strong, reliable, and dependable, but also who lived in Long Island. Scott was 32, divorced, no kids, and good looking with a great job. So what was the problem? A number of bad blind dates and too many nights being cruised by the Cougars at TGI Fridays and Applebee's. It was then Scott decided to give the internet a try. As soon as Scott posted his profile, the floodgates opened. Women from all over New York State came calling. Manhattan, Staten Island, Westchester, Albany, Syracuse, and even Utica. Needless to say, Scott had a lot of choices. While he wasn't willing to date someone 350 miles away in a city that bordered Canada, he was willing to go anywhere between Nassau and Suffolk County. And there she was. Key to my heart, 516. She was an adorable redhead with an infectious smile, and her profile couldn't have been more perfect. She was a homebody who loved spending cozy nights in front of the fire, home-cooked meals, and watching old movies. All things Scott loved to do. She had a lucrative sales job, wasn't into the bar scene, and refused to date anyone who liked long walks on the beach. Finally, a girl who saw through a cheesy online profile. After a few emails, they decided to exchange phone numbers. Their conversations flowed easily, and Scott had a great feeling about Key to my heart, 516, aka Julie. They made plans to meet that weekend at a restaurant in Long Beach. They spoke the whole week leading up to the date, and for the first time in a long time, Scott was excited about meeting someone. Friday, before the big date, he got a call from Julie while he was riding home from work on the Long Island Railroad. Her neighbor had a family emergency, and she was needed to watch their dog, so she had to cancel their date. Julie said she felt very badly about it, and since she was stuck in the house for the night, she invited Scott over. Not wanting this date to be just a hookup, Scott politely declined, and they rescheduled. When date night arrived, Scott suggested they meet at a popular Italian restaurant located close to both their neighborhoods. Julie loved the place, but thought it would be more intimate if he came over to her apartment for a bottle of wine first. In fact, she insisted he go to her place for drinks. Insisted. At this point, Scott's penis started doing the talking. He liked this girl, but if all she wanted to do was hook up, who was he to argue? Now, this is where men and women really differ. A woman would never, ever go to a guy's house for a first date when they met on the internet, unless she wanted to be on the front page of the New York Post or the topic of the latest episode of Law & Order SVU. That's why women don't have penises. But Scott did have a penis, and by now, he was thinking with it. He was impressed when he pulled up to her massive condo complex. This place had multiple buildings and garages. It would probably be easier to get in and out of Fort Knox than this development, seriously. Not knowing exactly where he was going, Scott called Julie to ask her to meet him at the guest parking entrance. She said she was still getting dressed, so she would just talk him through the directions. After walking what seemed like a mile and a half, he finally reached Julie's apartment, and he was excited. He was ready to meet the sweet, funny redhead with whom he'd spent many nights talking on the phone. All was right in the world. When Julie opened the door, Scott couldn't believe what he was seeing. She was stunning. She had the bluest eyes he'd ever seen, a perfect nose, and boy, ooh, the smile. Her photos were the real deal. They hugged, and he stepped back to check her out. A petite, tight body clad in a cute black halter dress with strappy sandals and a little ankle bracelet. She was so Wait. Scott did a double take. And then a triple take. What the hell kind of ankle bracelet was that? It was big and funky with a blinking red light in the corner. Shit! Oh, this chick had an ankle bracelet all right, but it was a fucking house arrest bracelet. WTF. Lindsay Lohan's bracelet was not this big. Okay? While Scott freaked, Julie tried to explain that she had a little, mishap with the law, and instead of doing jail time, she chose house arrest. Did she rob a bank, knock off a 7-Eleven, murder somebody? Perhaps someone she met on the internet? Maybe she was an internet serial killer who dismembered bodies in her bathtub. Fuck. Not wanting to find out, he dropped the flowers at her feet and took off. He made a mad dash down the hallway, which quickly became the hallway straight out of The Shining. It just got longer and longer. Julie started to chase after him, but just as he reached the elevator, he heard this piercing beeping fill his ears. Oh dear God, she just set off her bracelet. Please, Scott, she begged. I can only go 25 feet down the hall. Oh, Christ. As he ran through the maze of buildings and driveways to get to his car, he wondered if that was her real apartment or if the cops had stashed her there, because even Al Capone himself wouldn't be able to find his way in and out of this complex. Dripping in sweat, Scott finally reached his car and caught his breath. It all came crashing down on him. Flashes of conversation raced through his mind. She didn't like the bar scene because she couldn't get to it. She liked watching old movies because she couldn't get out to see the new one. She was in sales that she made from her home phone. And she was a homebody. No fucking shit, Sherlock. And she didn't like long walks on the beach. Well, that made sense, because the beach was definitely more than 25 feet from her apartment. Then Scott started laughing. He went online to find his Statue of Liberty and ended up meeting someone that was anything but free. Oh well, back to the burros and the blind dates. At least those girls weren't wanted felons throughout New York State.